Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the Public Works Podcast. My name is Joseph Blackman, and today I got a real treat for you. His name is John Masley, and he is the regional sales manager for VACON. John, say what's up to everybody.
What's up, everybody? And hey, Joseph, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good, doing good. So where I found you at was on the wonderful world of LinkedIn, and then I realized you're like on Instagram. I think you have a YouTube. Like you're just you're posting like crazy, and I love it because this industry needs more people like you. If you don't know John Mosley, aka Vacon John,
Yep.
I mainly wanted to have you on the show to talk about your story, talk about what you have going on. Of course, we'll talk about Vacon, but just to talk about your approach on why you became Vacon John. So give us a kind of a brief career path or just what you did leading up to getting into the industry, and then we'll talk more about it.
Perfect. Well, just a little bit of background on me and kind of how I got even set up into VACON. I've been at VACON for 4 years now, and I used to sell construction equipment for a Caterpillar dealership. So I was in yellow iron for a while and loved it. And my family has always been on the VACON side of things, and I never really fully understood everything. And once I got entrenched in it, I realized how much my family had to do with a lot of things at VACON, and it really opened my eyes and made my relationship with my dad a lot stronger just because I knew what he was doing in his career. But I always thought I was going to stay at this Caterpillar dealership and retire there. And over the years, I got poked and prodded. You got to come to VACON. You got to come to VACON. So my wife and I actually started at VACON working in the Northeast, and now I'm in the South. So
Okay.
we picked up and moved to Richmond, Virginia, and we got married. We got a puppy. We got moved to Richmond in like a month, and it was crazy. So we lived up there for about 3 years, and I covered Virginia up to Canada. And then I had an opportunity to come down to the southern part of the state. So now I cover North Carolina down to Florida across to New Mexico. So I cover the South for VACON now. And once I started at VACON, I kind of realized I felt like the construction industry kind of had a little bit more oomph on the social media side and marketing side of things. And it wasn't that they were so far behind, but I felt like it just hadn't got that boost yet. That marketing boost hadn't happened. And it's a complex industry. They're complex machines. It's really niche. And when I started, I was kind of like, man, we could make some killer videos and kind of show people what these trucks do and what these people that work for the sanitary, sewer districts, departments, the public works departments, the water departments, contractors that are doing that work. There's not a whole lot of publicity about it. And that's why I appreciate the Public Works podcast, but there's really not a lot going on with it. So I just was going on and on, all the meetings that we'd have. I said, man, we got to make some videos. We got to make some videos. And, my wife will make fun of me and say I'm a sewer nerd or a VACON nerd. And some of the guys that I work with are also like, you get obsessed with something, you start running with something. So I got obsessed with it. And I have my my editing and videography degree via YouTube. That's all I did.
Yeah.
I just watched YouTube videos, and I learned how to film stuff correctly, edit stuff correctly, and basically how to become an influencer, but then take your own niche into it and become an influencer for VACON. So over time, I went through and learned all of those things. And, looking back, some of those first videos I made, it's like, oh, those aren't great. But I learned I just got to post stuff. I just got to do it. The worst thing that can happen is nobody watches it.
Yep.
So I wanted to make the VACON John page. And it's funny enough, one of my sales reps, I was like, man, he had a pressure washing business, and he got big on TikTok. And I said, man, I would love to do that with VACON stuff, but I just need to figure out like a good name for it. He's like, dude, you already got a name. It's VACON John. I was like,
yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, okay, I'm running with that. So, one of my sales reps came up with that, and I kind of pushed a goal of saying, all right, I want to post one video a week that's educational, that brings some sort of knowledge to, whether it's one of my sales reps around the country, somebody that's running a truck around the country, somebody that doesn't know much about the trucks, but they see them driving around their neighborhood, or maybe they're, somebody that is on the water treatment side doesn't necessarily do a lot with the maintenance side. They get to see something about what these trucks are doing. So I really try to use it as a form of education, but also a little bit of a brand awareness boost. It's been so fun doing it, man, because everybody asks me, say, you ever run out of ideas for videos? It's like, man, you should see my iPhone notes. I got so much stuff, just finding the time to do it. Oh yeah.
Dude,
But that's kind of the
love
background.
I love that. I got so many kind of follow-up questions just to talk about. So I was kind of on the other side of the pipe or the lateral or whatever. I sold Vector, right? Yep. I sold Vector trucks for years, and I noticed the same thing. There was nobody in our industry that was pushing the social media aspect, the kind of the digital transformation side of things. And I remember going to my dealer, to the GM at my dealer, and saying, "Hey, I want to start a podcast." And A, to use it kind of as a way to educate and advocate for the industry, but B, to also be able to interview people that I could potentially sell to in the future, just to highlight who they are and what they do. Because again, it's easier to get an interview, with somebody if you're asking them about themselves than to just be able to walk in there and get a cold call get time from a cold call. And I remember being laughed at. They're like, "Dude, nobody wants to listen to a podcast and just focus out. Just go beat the bushes and knock on more doors and you get your sales up." And so I knew I always had in the back of my brain, I wanted to start a podcast, and I'm so glad I did, because it's changed my life for the better. But I kind of want to know what some of the initial pushback was from you whipping out your camera, like kind of that, I say, I've heard before that you got to be cringe before they binge. Those early days of you're pulling out your tripod, you got your microphone, you don't want too many people to watch you, and you're by yourself probably, and you're scared to post. And then some of the pushback you might have got from those in the industry or those in the company were like, "Man, just go out there and just sell more stuff."
Well, it's interesting. At the very beginning, I think not even before things kind of blew up, because I still don't think it's even blown up yet. I feel like there's so much more that could happen with it.
Sure.
But before it became valuable and we started getting leads out of it, there was a little bit of pushback, but all in all, the company's been super supportive of it, which has been awesome. But at the beginning, you're kind of like, what are you even going to make videos on? It's like, well, think about all of the things that separate us from anybody else or what they're doing. Because my thought is that's one portion of the videos that could be made, but there's also portions that are going to be shared stuff, to where I'm talking about rotor hose, and a Vactor's got a rotor hose, a Camel's got a rotor hose. They all have rotor hoses. So it's a very, you got to think that itself. Right. If I'm doing a review on a chassis, that chassis in itself, we all have to put it on a chassis. So there's things that, I just like to blast out there. I just did one on an Aircom wireless remote system for a truck, and everybody uses Aircom remotes for the most part. There's some people that do, and it's probably options for a lot of people, but I just like to highlight what those guys are doing and how it helps me, because it's a tool on our truck and it's something to be highlighted, and little stuff like that just goes a long way for getting into the weeds on the little option content and showing the things that the trucks do.
Like my father-in-law is into bass fishing, and I never bass fished before, so I'm like, I'll go with it. So just kind of like you said, YouTube University. I go on YouTube and like, what does a bass fish look like? What does the rod look like? How should I do this? What should I look for? What's the bait? What's this? And there's so much content around bass fishing. Like I can spend years and years and still not scratch the surface on bass fishing content. But I think with our industry, you don't need to be able to get to the 3 million views like some of these bass fishers. Like even if just some of your posts get 300 views, 500 views, a couple thousand views, like that is good numbers for our industry, because it's so segmented. It's so like kind of away from the beaten path. Like nobody's going to click on a rotor hose, if they're not in our industry.
Right. Right. Yeah. Like, and that's part of the niche. And that's why I think it makes it even more important, is the way I think of it. And the reason why I started my podcast is to get more knowledge from the people that are retiring. This niche of people, doesn't matter which company you're from. If you're in the sewer industry, the water, the storm water, there's a lot of people retiring. And there's a lot of tribal knowledge that does not get put down and written in stone, which makes it harder on the new generation. So
Yeah.
I thought with the videos and the podcasts and all the different, things that I'm doing on social media is let's get some of this to where it makes these new guys kind of get a jump start on it. Because that's one thing I got to realize firsthand when I started. I was like, you guys just have all this memorized, huh? You guys don't have there's no training, there's no
It's not written.
yeah, we don't have like an official like huge training program. There was a training program, but it's kind of like you're gonna
Yeah.
in my position, you're gonna go travel with him, and then you're gonna go
Yeah.
travel with him, and then you're gonna go travel with him. And I was like, well, I think right now, 4 years in, I have what I say is a really rudimentary understanding of the industry because I'm comparing myself against guys in it for 20, 25, 35 years. And it puts me in a good spot to train guys that are just coming in. The 101 on sewer cleaning, the 101 on stormwater cleaning, lining, just jetters in general. And it gives me the ability to have this dumbed down version because I can kind of speak their language because I was just in their shoes 4 years ago, to where you get some guys, no fault of their own. They've been in the weeds for 25 years. They might already start talking and it's just flying over people's heads. So it's kind of like, all right, slow down a little bit. Because some of the guys I really learned from, it was awesome. And now listening back to the way they taught me, I'd probably understand a lot more. But just coming into it, there's so many moving parts on the stuff. That's part of that tribal knowledge that I'm trying to get put down when I need to.
No, totally. Like I remember looking to do a demo. I'm literally in my sales car and I'm looking at the street sweeper at this corp yard and I'm going to do a demo on that street sweeper. And I'm on YouTube trying to figure out like, where's the water pump on this thing? Like, what should I say about this? And I'm looking for walk arounds and content. There was nothing out there like that for it. I'm looking at the brochures and come on, like, how can you sell off of a brochure? So that concept, like you said, of that 0 to 1, that 101, I truly believe there will come a day where VACON will be able to hire, let's say, fresh out of high school, 22, 23, 24-year-old kids, and they can go online and find everything they need to know about a VACON and come to that first interview and be like, yeah, here's how you pay out the hose reel. Here's what X10 or Core 10 or whatever steel it is and why it's pretty cool. And they will know some of the selling points because, again, these young kids are curious. They know how to find information. If you hashtag like where you can find a certain triplex pump or whatever, difference between a rotor pump and a triplex pump, they can find it, they can know it, and they will be so much more empowered to hit that yard on day one and not feel like, oh, the guy with the gray hair knows everything and he calls me a idiot because I don't know this or that. Like now he can show up and say, yeah, I know this, I know that. And I do think as a society we will get there. And as an industry, we should be able to offer that to those coming into the industry. Because again, even the training I had for Vactor, it's like this stuff is terrible. It doesn't speak to customers. It's all in a pristine environment. And like none of these guys speak my language.
Well, it's funny. I got two things I want to hit on that because one, with those people that are incoming, I mentioned that the tribal aspect of it, not having all that information, but I know you mentioned the bass fishing story. Anybody that's my age or younger, if I'm trying to make a big purchase, buy something, or if I'm trying to go, I went turkey hunting the other day. I'm not a huge turkey hunter, but there's a bunch of YouTube channels of guys that just go in the weeds on turkey hunting. So the very first thing I do is I go online and I look up YouTube videos, whether I'm trying to look at reviews of something I'm trying to buy or if I'm, yeah. So all that stuff for the younger crowd getting in the industry, that's the first thing they're going to do. Most of them, at least if they're anything like me, they're going to go and research. So that's something that's big. And then the other thing I was going to bring up is on the VACON side, we have incoming people all the time, but they might not ever get to interact with the truck. So you think about at a manufacturer base, I got people in purchasing, working in the parts department where they don't get to interact with the truck the whole time, but now they get to vicariously see demos and they get to understand how these trucks work, and they might go through their whole career in the purchasing department, parts department, assembly, testing pad, and they are zoned in like this on the truck, where they get a finite amount of time with that truck depending on what they're exactly doing with it. But then I'm able to show them this product out in the field with customers, and I think just from feedback I've gotten, they really appreciate it because they get to see it actually work, which has been a huge thing.
And I'm sure when they're at their Christmas dinner with all the generations of their family, and they say, "Hey, Jackie, what do you do?" "Well, I work at VACON and I do X, Y, and Z." They go, "Well, what's a VACON?" Instead of just sending them the website, they could say, "Here's this cool video that John's doing cool stuff out in with the city of such and such, and it looks really cool." And they go, "Oh, now I know what kind of equipment you work on now."
Yep.
It makes it hit home so much better. Where do you think that? I'm biased. You might be able to correct me on this, but I think that every sales rep should be a mini influencer in their territory. And hear me out here. I do think that, like, let's say Jim Bob, he has the South Florida for XYZ equipment. I think he should be able to create content, whether it's a podcast, whether it's his own VACON John social media channel, to where he can promote what he does, talk about who he is, bring people in behind the fold of who he is, kind of talk about like his dog, or like you said, turkey hunting or bass fishing, to be able to better influence or reach those customers, those hard to get to customers that, again, you can't drive into their corp yard and knock on their door and get 10 minutes of time. But if they can search, and again, I always say people should be creepable. Like, you should be able to go and see the person you want to talk to and like look at because again, like dating, you just got married or you got married some years ago, but before we would meet somebody and then you'd figure out like, okay, what's their Instagram? What's their Facebook? Who are they? Where they travel to? This and that. So you kind of creep on their whole life. And before this conversation, you're like, oh, I know what I'm working with here. I think it's the same thing in sales. You should be able to know who they're trying to buy from. And again, what better way than to be able to be the influencer in our territory? What are your thoughts on the micro influencer?
I completely agree with you. And I think there's so many different forms of it that you can really make it what you want. Because I work with a lot of different styles of sales reps. I call it styles, but it's really personalities of sales reps, right? I have the guys that are 100% relationship, based, and guys and gals, just relationship based. They might not be able to run the truck. They might not be great at, they might be newer. They don't really know the truck like the back of their hand, but they're best friends with all their customers. Those are the relationship key people. And then I've got some people where they're the opposite. They're not really super strong on the relationship side, but they can, work around that truck, and they've got the utmost confidence in the truck. That's great. Well, then I also got some sales reps where somehow they get it done. They're more on the quiet side. They might not be complete experts in the truck, but they're able to get themselves out of the hole and sell some units because they have some way of doing it. I'm kind of a little bit more on the outgoing side, but they've got a way of doing it. So what I would think on the influencer side, you could make videos, or maybe you just get on CapCut and you use a CapCut template and you say, all right, I need a 4-second video here. I need a 6-second video here, and I need a 2-second video here. And it makes the video for you. Or you could just take pictures and post those pictures up. And again, use a template on something. It could snip those pictures together. Or maybe you just have a LinkedIn page where you post pictures on a truck and you do it once a week. And you set that up. It could be as basic or as complex as you want to make it. But if you have a presence, my whole thing is if it flies across that right person's page, their homepage at the right time, you never know what could happen. You never know.
Dude, totally. And like, you talk about just taking pictures or like the easy CapCut, like that's zero investment, meaning you're already around the truck. It's not like you're paying for a software for a service for that. You can literally take a couple pictures, take a couple seconds of video. You don't even have to do a voiceover or be in the actual shot. But if you're consistently posting once or twice a week, like, you're doing 100, 200, 300% more than your competitors out there. And again, if that one piece of content flies across your, your potential, the guy who might buy that truck from it, and you get it, like, you just made X amount of thousands of dollars for your company, some commissions, like, you just got yourself a whole vacation off of posting content. And I think that we're leaving so much money on the table when we don't talk about what we do. Because like you said before, this niche is so interesting. our communities need to have these types of trucks do their job every day for the communities to function. So why not tell the story? And then why not help the person you're selling to tell the story to their communities?
Yeah. Well, and it's so interesting that you say that too. Getting on about this micro influencer style, we talked about how simple it could be. But then again, on the complex side, I get guys that come up to me and they'll meet me. I'll be in a small town in Georgia or be in a small town in Texas, and they say, "Oh, you're back on, John." I'm like, "That's why I do this. Is that you guys recognize me right when I pull up." But what I tell the sales reps is I'm no genius, right? I'm the first time I ever edited a video or filmed a video, me in front of the camera was in August last year. I didn't know how to do any of that. All on YouTube. It's all just effort. And if you spend a little time on it and if you get obsessed with it in any way, I work out a lot too. So what I did is my cardio time was dedicated to learning. So I popped on YouTube. If I was cardio for 1 hour that day and I sat on that elliptical or treadmill and I was running on the treadmill, I got my iPad on there and I'm watching how to edit on this platform, or how to make the most perfect TikTok, how to make the perfect Instagram reel or LinkedIn reel. What's the best, what's your hook? How are you gonna separate this and make it to where people are gonna watch it in the
Yeah,
first 6 seconds? Attention spans are small. I listened to Matt from on your podcast, the last one, Matt from LA, or
oh, yep.
and there you
Mike
got
McCordy, yeah.
Mike.
Oh, yeah.
So you guys were talking about attention spans.
Yep.
I deal with the same thing, man. It doesn't matter if I'm in front of people in person or on the video side. I got a certain amount of seconds to where I got to make sure that if they're interested, they're going to watch. So just doing a little YouTube research, you could make it as complex as you want, or you could say, I'm going to be a little micro influencer on the sales side. I'm going to start off with the basics, the smallest investment of time. I'm going to start posting pictures, and then I'm going to start watching YouTube videos. Maybe I'll post my first video next week.
Yep.
And it doesn't have to be complex. And I've started to try to train some of my salespeople to get on board with it, but it is not as fluid as it looks.
Yeah.
When I'm posting something, I'm controlling what goes out there, right? So you might see me do a walk around on a truck, and it's no cuts, full swing, right?
Wow.
And I'm not gonna, it's a minute 40-second quick walk. I call those the quick walk rounds, and I'll do the long ones in 30-40 minutes, but a little quick walk round. What you don't know is that the first time I did that, I might have had to take 30 takes. I might have had to take 10 takes. It doesn't just come naturally where you're talking to the camera and you're able to bop, bop, bop and go around, bop, bop, bop and go around. And you have to, the more you do it, it's just like anything else. It's like riding a bike now that I've done it so much. But at the beginning, it takes time to get used to it. It's not natural.
And I'm a firm believer in you shoot your content, but you don't have to post everything.
Mhm.
You can do, like, let's say you're a rep out there right now, you're listening to the show, you're sitting in a truck, you're waiting for a demo to start in about an hour. Do 2 quick walks, record them, hold your phone up to your face, record them through the quick walks. If you hate them, delete them. That's okay. But you got 2 solid reps at doing that. I guarantee by your 5th, you'll be ready to post, and it'll change your life. Good. One thing I want to ask, so for me, like, I have my own business. I can kind of post whatever I want. I can go into like politics and religion and kind of the touchy subjects because there's no like venture capital that's going to like cut me off or slap me on the hand. What do you say to those company side who have, like, you could be a dealership and you have reps out there, they want to become a micro influencer in their territory and they're part of the country. What do you say to them to A, empower them, but B, not make it to where they're always looking over their shoulder on what to post or not to post, just so they don't tarnish the brand of who they're working for?
I try my best to look at it as if when I'm editing it, I'm viewing it. And I try to be, company man too, not get into politics, religion, all that stuff, because I'm trying to stay in my lane with it. But then again, on my podcast, I want it to be raw and natural. So if somebody does cuss or something, I let it go. We're in an industry where sometimes that happens, right?
Sometimes.
So yeah. it's almost like
Yeah.
it's just how it goes. So
Yeah.
I think being authentic is huge, but you also have to work with, the people that are the experts working for your dealership or your company. Working at Vacon, we're an employee owned company, so that really helps out with everything. There's no private equity people looking over us saying, "Hey, I love this, I hate this, stop doing that, stop doing this." I have people to answer to, but in reality, what my thought is, and on the dealerships level and manufacturers level, marketing and sales has to be tight. They have to be super tight. So
Yes.
what I always think of, and the actual real reason why I really started Vacon John, it's because I kept talking about in meetings, hey, we need videos, we need videos, we need videos. And I realized, I'm like, well, what kind of guy am I if I'm just sitting in these meetings saying we need videos, we need videos? So I realized one night, I think about this stuff all the time. And I think I was laying in bed, and I woke up and started typing in my notes. I realized, even if I were to bring a marketing person with me and they travel with me for 6 to 8 weeks out of the year, which would be crazy for them to do. That would be a lot of
That's a
time.
lot. Yeah. Yeah. That's a lot.
They would never capture what I had in my head. They would never have it. So we're the regional sales managers and the sales reps are the ones that know the truck like the back of their hand, and they're with the truck operating it every day. The marketing team doesn't have the ability to go and do that all the time. So what I realized is like, well, if I'm thinking of it on the level I'm thinking of, I've got to do it myself. I've got to come up with a way to work with the marketing team and be cooperative on the marketing plan and just do it on my own. So because there's no way to get this equipment to everywhere.
Yeah.
So I just, you should see my backpack, man. It's huge. And because I carry this stuff with me, because you never know when you're gonna get put on a demo that's like the one that is. Oh man, we
Yeah.
are we are out in front of this football stadium. We're hydro excavating a water line at the football stadium. It's like, man, I wish I had this and that with me. So I say, you know what? I'm just gonna have it with me all the time.
There you
So
go.
that's kind of how I grew into it. But that was when I really realized is that there's no way for the marketing and sales to be so entwined with one another if we don't have some salespeople that are entrenched in the marketing side, and we don't have some marketing people that are really entrenched in the sales side. They got to love the sales side too, so they got to understand the truck. We got to understand how to shoot videos, how to take
Yep.
good pictures, and not
Yep.
have your have your finger over the edge of the camera when you're taking stuff. Simple stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Wipe off the lens first, bro. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's when I really realized. I was like, I'm just gonna do it, because
Yes.
there's not enough time to make the videos that I was thinking of in my head, just how status quo.
You,
So that's really how it got rolling.
sure. You talked about marketing and sales, and that's again like they should be kind of one and the same, but I get it. They have different thought process and mindsets. How do you like? What would the marketing people say? Let's say the company's on board, the dealership's on board. They want to be able to make their 5 salesmen in their 5 different parts of the state, all micro influencers. What should marketing say to those sales guys to be able to get the content they need to be able to build out a cohesive, let's say, social media presence?
Well, it gets tricky, because looking at it from a marketing perspective too, if you're going to do it where it's kind of like back on John style and it's me talking a lot at the camera, and I get the videos where I'm just filming a demo too, don't get me wrong, maybe I'll do a voiceover. But if you get somebody that's talking to the camera, they kind of have to be good and likable enough to flow into it, right? And if you're not comfortable with it, you shouldn't do it that way. You got to do what you're comfortable with. So maybe you want to be behind the camera and film some stuff. So as thinking of my marketing mind, the first thing I would start small, right? I would say, all right, sales team, the next time you're on a demo, you get permission to film people on the demo, and maybe you're running the truck, and you get some time to peel off or whatever. I want each of you guys to get me 5-10 second vertical clips. And out of 5-10 second vertical clips, you can at least make a 10-second TikTok, maybe a 15-second. You can make something.
Yeah.
So if you have 5 sales reps and each of them are giving you 5 10-second vertical clips that are 9x16,
Boom.
maybe you start off and you have little clips of demos where you can peel together, and you got 5 separate TikToks you can make, or Instagram reels or LinkedIn reels, whatever you're trying to do. And then after that, the nice thing about all the stuff on the social media is that you can reuse this stuff. So then maybe you have something where you take all of those clips together, and you take 5 of the best 10 seconds from each guy and clip them together and say, hey, this is what we did this week. And if people stay on top of, all right, you guys are getting better with it. Hey, and hey, Tom, next time hold your phone a little bit more farther up, and then hey, next time take it from a different angle, and make sure you have a little bit more space on either side. And you could give these tips and really get the sales guys into it. Because if you're, as a marketing team, if you're giving the sales guys value, and maybe you go as far as, so I learned a lot from some sweeper manufacturers that do really good walk around YouTube videos. Now, sweeper walk around is very technical, very mechanical. So their videos are really great. And I was able to take a little bit from how they do their style. But that is the marketing team working directly, because the marketing team does not know how that sweeper, I bet that marketing team for the sweeper, I'm not throwing shade in any way, I'm being realistic. If you turn the battery disconnect off in the truck, they might not be able to turn the truck on.
True.
Yeah. So they have to really collaborate with somebody on the sales side and say, hey, I'm using Ray as an example at one of the sweeper manufacturers. All right, if you get time this week, can you spend one day with the marketing team? And the nice thing is that these sales guys that are really, really good sales guys, you don't need a script. You don't need need a plan. You say, all right, take me on a walk around, and you just get a gimbal and a phone, or you just get a tripod and a phone, and you just take it to each place, and you clip that together, and you learn how to edit it. You've got a full walk around video. That's extremely valuable to people on the sales team.
And I love how you broke it down. Like, let's say you have 5 sales reps, they all give you 5 clips. Like, that's 25 different pieces of content. You could drip out once a day for the next 25 days, or you could drip out, twice a month for the next, 12 months. You get what I'm saying? So that automatically builds in your content calendar, because there's nothing worse than creating content. You have it, you drip it out, and then you're like, oh shoot, I got to create more. Like, you want to be able to have a cohesive calendar that automatically, because every LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, you can set it on a calendar to where it posts itself. If you're a marketing director, you want to have 30, 40 different pieces of content already in the can, already scheduled, so they can post their self out, automatically. And I think that just automatically, 2 to 5x is your output, because you're creating the content. And the salesmen are already there. They already have the equipment. They're already out on the beat. So why not capture that, anyways? I wanted to ask about your kit. Like, let's say you wanted to have a kit where you're bare bones, you don't want to spend too much money on it. What should they buy to get started? And then also kind of like the high end version of a kit. Like, what should somebody look into, and how much will they be looking to spend if they wanted to start their Vac on John journey?
So there's definitely tiers to it, right? I mean, as basic as it gets, when I started, I had nothing but the cell phone. That's it. Nothing else. And when I started, that's it. I didn't have a tripod. I didn't have a gimbal. I didn't have anything. That would be how I would start, because then you get a real taste of, do I want to do this or not? Then after that, taking the next tier to it, what I would recommend doing, if you're trying to be like Vac on John style, is you need a microphone and you need a gimbal. And gimbals, I mean, $150 probably for a DJI Osmo Mobile 6 or something.
Explain what a gimbal is for those who don't know.
So a gimbal, and I'm specifically talking about a phone gimbal. There's different styles. So to go over a couple different styles. So a phone gimbal, this one's called a DJI Osmo Mobile 6, and there's a clip that clips to your phone, and it magnetizes, and it actually has 3 motors and on arms, And what it does is it stabilizes your phone. So if you imagine holding your phone and doing a walk around on the truck, that phone's going to shake and move with your movement. Now you could stabilize that in an editing software, but that crops into your image and makes everything fuzzy. So if you're able to use a gimbal, you would just have to, learn the ins and outs of it. But it's basically you hold a stick, like a selfie stick, but there's 3 motors on it that keep that phone completely stable as you're walking around. Now, is it super necessary? No. Is it my style to like to use it? Yeah. I love using that. It makes everything look a little bit more clean. Or you could just get a tripod and post it up, talk to the tripod, cut, move the tripod, talk to it again, move it. The most important thing is having good audio too. So you got to have some wireless mics or a lav mic or something. And you could get, it's funny on TikTok Shop, you can get pretty decent ones for $20, $30, or you can go crazy and get, a double wireless mic set and spend $300 or so and have them for a long time. But that's what I would put it that second tier there, where you're kind of getting into having a little bit of gear with you. But it's also super nice because that gimbal folds down. It's probably about the size of the palm of my hand. The mic set I have is probably the size of my 4 fingers in a little square box. So you can kind of travel like that with ever. Now, obviously, I mentioned about how big my backpack is. I kind of have been going tiers. If you really, that's the one thing with the marketing department style is they want to have, a mirrorless camera with, everything on professional wired audio and a boom mic. And I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, so we're going to break this down real quick. We're not doing any of that. Now I've kind of gotten it, maybe I'm a little addicted to YouTube and I've kind of gotten down that road a little bit more.
Yeah.
And
Gearhead.
yeah, I got a little bit of gear on me now, but there's a lot more tiers you could make. And then it kind of gets into what your style is. So if your style is, so there's a big company in Florida that's a construction company. It's Quality Enterprises. I don't know if you've ever seen any of their stuff before, but they're a huge land clearing and a site development company. And they're huge on TikTok. And the cool thing about them is there's nobody talking about the equipment. There's nobody talking about their site or bringing the super like valuable education. No, it's just cool stuff. So they got a drone and they got a drone following a dozer pushing out a creek, or they've got a drone spinning around an excavator with a ditch bucket showing the water flowing out of the ditch bucket as they're picking up lime, that kind of stuff. And they're huge on TikTok just from that. So it really depends on your style and what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. No, people ask me all the time, like, because they see me at trade shows shooting video and easy stuff. I say the least you can do is go on Amazon, find the $20, $30 microphone, the little wireless lavalier microphone that plugs into your iPhone, and they get one of those $10 and $15, like you can get these tripods at Walmart or 7-Eleven, like super cheap, but they stand still. They're not trying to stabilize yet, but you can just get a tripod, get the microphone, and boom, you're in the game. Your audio is going to sound better than it would in just a room audio, and then it's going to be on a tripod looking at you, and you'd be surprised how much further that will take you than not having it.
That's exactly right. And one thing I try to talk to as far as the marketing side, sales side, we talked about how these younger groups are starting to take over and getting into the industry, and they're looking up video and they're looking up stuff on social media. At these trade shows that we go to, I'm not saying trade shows are still valuable. It's still extremely valuable.
We can have a conversation.
Yeah. But what you should be doing is while you're sitting there, we all know that trade shows sometimes get a little slow. And my philosophy is I'm never going to be slow. If there's not a lot of people around the booth, I am filming. I'm getting walkarounds in. I'm talking about a Lazy Susan pipe rack. I'm talking about a dual engine combo truck. I'm getting these little clips and I'm walking around each truck at that trade show and doing something instead of sitting and trying to take computer time away. I'll do that when I get to the hotel room.
Yeah, that's huge. I'm gonna clip that out and send that to every sales manager out there.
Yeah.
But I do think we'll get to a point in time where whoever we hire will equip them with the tripod and some microphones and
Yep.
say, hey, if you're sitting around, if you're not doing this, you're going to be creating content. I think we will get there soon. The question I always get, like, what is the ROI? Like what's, and again, I'm not asking you for numbers or anything like that, but just talk to those sales managers out there who say, what is this ever going to pay itself off? Like, what's the ROI on my guy actually doing a video walk around and posting it to YouTube or TikTok? What do you say to those who are kind of skeptical and trying to figure out if it's actually going to pay off in the back end?
Well, if they're skeptical and they're working for the competition, I just tell them, all right, that's good. You keep doing what you're doing. But if you're on the VACON side and guys that are trying, it doesn't matter what you're selling, right? You could be selling pumps, you could be selling anything. What I try to tell people is it's a very funny thing to trying to look at ROI. What is it actually costing you other than time, though? In the grand scheme of things, where we talked about the entry level is you already have a phone, you're getting a cheap microphone and a tripod. What is it costing you? Okay, it's costing you an hour of your time. Maybe it's costing you 10 minutes of your time. So return on investment is actually insanely great because, like I said, you get one video. You never know which video is gonna do well, right? I'll spend hours. I'll spend hours editing this video. I said, this one is gonna hit. This one's gonna be a really, really good video. Nothing. I get like on TikTok, I'll get like 2,500 views. I'm like, what the heck? Well, then I was thinking about not posting a video. I'm like, I already posted one today. We're at the wet show. I'll hang out. I'm not gonna post it. And I post it. You get 170,000 views. I'm like, well, what the heck? I didn't spend but 2 minutes filming it. And you just think about that. You get all those views. Leads come from those views because again, we're talking. Those are especially on TikTok push to people that are interested in what I'm doing.
Yep.
So you automatically gets leads off of it. Now, from the manufacturer side, the scariest thing about it is what happens to those leads because we're sending those to dealerships, and then I'm staying on top of dealerships to make sure that they follow through on those leads. But if your ultimate goal is to sell trucks, return on investment shouldn't be a big question when it comes to this stuff because your investment's not huge.
Like who asked for ROI on a trade show? You spend $30,000 and send four representatives out there. You got the truck and the 8 booth spaces, and nobody really bats an eye about that. But a guy spending 22 minutes a day on shooting 5 minutes worth of video and 18 minutes worth of editing,
Yeah. And I mean, not to get too far down the rabbit hole either, but the other thing I mentioned was when you pull up somewhere and it's like, oh, VACON John, I know you. It's like, okay, I haven't met this guy yet, but he already has an idea of who I am. And maybe, just maybe he has a little bit of trust in me already to where there's not such a, one of the big things when I'm doing my job is there's always a barrier at the beginning. If I go up to somebody, they've never owned VACONs before, my goal is to get them to start liking me by the time I hit the back of the truck, because they're not going to like me from the very beginning. Depending on what their experiences are, maybe they love a different truck. If I can turn them over towards the back end of the truck and they start paying attention, they start asking questions, and maybe they like me a little bit more just from me talking with them, that's great. But if I pull up and they've already seen some of this stuff, that's great. And with these guys that are the micro influencers or doing it within their territory, the nice thing about all these videos, it doesn't matter what platform you are, tag the location. You can geofence that thing to your territory. So I kind of do it throughout the entire country. So I'm kind of pinpointing different areas. You never post something without putting a location in it. That's a huge rule that I've learned. And you don't have to be there. If I wanted to be in Utah, I just tag it in Utah, and I want to show people in Utah. If I want to show people in Northern California, I tag, the Bay Area or Sacramento, and I tag it there. It's going to show more people there first. Just helps out. So if you are a Gainesville, Florida sales rep and you're hitting Gainesville every time, show those people in Gainesville. That's your target audience. And maybe every once in a while you can branch off and hit Tallahassee or Tampa and try to get a little bit, some more people in there, but you just want to hit those surrounding areas.
Yeah. No, your point on somebody seeing your face on the camera, hearing your voice, and kind of hearing your inflections and kind of the energy of the person you are goes so much further. Like that, it's not really a cold meeting anymore. When they've already seen you, heard from you, kind of hear your vibe. Like, yes, that that chasm has been crossed, that they don't know you. Now they feel like they know. They might not know you. They might not have shaken your hand before, but them having seen you on on their phone, like it brings them so much closer. And I feel like that's invaluable, especially in our world where,
and you think about that in terms of the ROI. I mean, what is that? What is the return on someone knowing you? I feel like it's very valuable because your investment's not high, but that return could be good. But this is what I really tell those guys that are interested in the ROI on something like this. What is 1 to 2 leads for that sales rep? That's got to be valuable. It doesn't take long for those to start trickling in if you're putting yourself out there. Worst thing nobody watches it.
I've seen in the startup community, like in the tech space, where instead of just hiring somebody new and grabbing a picture and say, hey, John's the new sales rep in this territory. John likes, chocolate cake, and he likes going for long walks with his dog. Like, you see those posts all the time. What if they spent half a day and they sat John down and they videoed him on a walk with his unique Great Dane, or they showed him, like, instead of just eating chocolate, he has like this fetish around chocolate where he's like crazy about it, and it brings people more into who John is. And then they posted that video and they put it on their mailing list and say, hey, all you cities, all you counties, all you contractors in this area, here's John. And let's say, okay, there's 100 people on the list, maybe 40 people watch it. Out of those 40 people who watch it, I guarantee they're going to be more inclined to go, oh, that's John. Like, I watched your video, dude. Like, I don't know what I was doing. I was in my office. Email came in. I watched your video. And now I know who you are. Now you're standing in my doorway asking for time. Like, please sit down.
Well, and then after that, me thinking as the marketing side of it is 60 days goes by. All right. Hey, John, we're interested. What have you learned in 60 days? What is 2 major things that you've grabbed? Because before you were in real estate and now you're here. Within those 60 days, what have you learned? And then those people that saw the intro and then see the 60 days later, they'd be like, okay, I've seen this guy twice. And now they're talking about business and he's talking about what he's learned so far in this small amount of time. You could do that down the road of a year. You can do that all that stuff. It's invaluable to me because it doesn't take a lot to do. It.
A couple of questions before we get out of here. I feel like I could talk about this for hours and hours. Just starting out, what should somebody do? Like, where do you see the best bang for your minute, your hour? Is it on Instagram? Is it on? I feel personally, I'm biased to LinkedIn and then YouTube as a second. I feel like Facebook groups have a lot of good meat in them. There's a lot of people in Facebook groups who are active. But what do you think there should be the first places you should start an account and start posting at?
You have to find where your niche is really sitting. I've learned a lot with the Facebook groups. Facebook groups are great if you're not trying to break into the Facebook group and because they're also, you got to think these people are also self-proclaimed experts in the field. Some of them really are, and some of them aren't. But you will get some. The other thing about Facebook groups is only the people in those groups are seeing what you're seeing. I like LinkedIn for purposes. It's much more professional on there. I like that portion of it. My favorite, and who knows, knock on wood, see what happens. But I love TikTok because it really brings in people that I never knew how many people were on TikTok that are in our industry. I mean, there's a ton of viewers. They don't post anything. They're on there scrolling through their For You page. I mean, we're talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people in our industry.
Dude, I touched TikTok because I never thought my cousin would be on TikTok, but now you got me thinking differently.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people. That's when people say, "Oh, you're back on John," it's the next thing they say is like, "I've seen you on TikTok." It's not they've seen me on Instagram or if they've seen me on YouTube. I do all of just again. You tell me when you want me to shut up when you want me to. But the way I do it is I post everything on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Instagram automatically post to Facebook. I do YouTube and TikTok. So I post all of those, but all of my vertical videos, which are 9:16 with your phone vertically, those can go on everything. Now you have to learn how to post things like on YouTube. If they're under 60 seconds, they can be a short. If they're over 60, But then I do my long form stuff horizontally. So a 16:9. That long form stuff I only put on YouTube because it's a lot better to put that, because if you post that long form thing on LinkedIn, who's really going to LinkedIn to watch an 18-minute video or a 45-minute video? On YouTube, you can watch it on the TV, you can watch it on your computer, you can watch it on the phone. And I tend to see people go that route. So my library of long form stuff I put on YouTube.
Gotcha.
I would say the best bang for your buck if you're trying to get started doing it, pick if you want to go super professional and just do LinkedIn, or if you want to experiment a little bit, fly over to TikTok and see what growth you can make out of it. That's where I've found a lot of my growth.
No, that experimental take on it is huge, because some people create like just not a fake account, but kind of like it could be a Jimmy account, right? And it's your account, but you try a certain hook, you try a certain visual hook, you try a certain audio hook, see if it bangs on TikTok. And if it does on that account, you might tweak something, put it on your main TikTok account, and know it'll rock for Instagram and LinkedIn and Shorts and all that. But usually people use TikTok as kind of like testing grounds for the content. And that's like next level. Like if I had an assistant, well, I'd do that, but I don't have the time now. But usually people test it out on different accounts to see if it'll bang for other accounts.
And the other thing, I mean, real quick, well, I've said this a few times, the worst thing that could happen is nobody watches it. That's the biggest thing to overcome. Is you think, man, people are going to make fun of me. My friends are going to send this to one another and say like, oh, he like stuttered at like 10 seconds in. What a loser. I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Worst thing that can happen is if I mess up, I'll actually put a little like emoji in there being like face palm, being like, oh, idiot. But you just got to post stuff. If you don't get overcome that fear, it's just not going to work out.
Yeah. And to be honest, the more you post, the less your muscle, like the more you develop a muscle of caring less of what other people think, because people will start liking it. They will start watching it. And if you get 500 views, 5,000 views, 500,000 views on something, who cares what one person didn't like about it? Because it's the minority. John, we could talk about this for hours. Where can people find more about you at? Anything you wanted to shout out back on wise? Any things you guys got coming out soon?
Yeah, so on all of, like I mentioned, all the social media pages, it's Vacon John. It's VACCONJOHN. You can go to any of my profiles, click the link tree, and find any of the other social pages from there. Our company website is www.vac-con.com. So you'll see a lot of stuff on there that might be a little bit different. The biggest thing I tell people to check out is reach out to me if you want to check out a dual engine combo truck and have the quietest truck in the industry, or to check out the Pro Reel if you're in a combo truck. It gives you the largest work area in the industry. So if you want to see one, you can shoot me a message and we'll come to you as soon as possible. We got demo trucks all around the country.
Beautiful. John, thank you for hopping on the Public Works podcast. To all the listeners out there, I know in the near future you'll be a micro influencer. Share this with somebody you think needs to hear it. John, thanks for hopping on.
Thank you, Joseph.